Compelling talk you can count on. This is the Mildred Gaddis Show on News Talk AM 1200 and 99.9 FM WCHB.
Hi, Joanne. One of the things that woman said is that Renisha told her all she wanted to do was go home. That was right after she crashed her car. We're outside the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice where court is taking place, but they did break for lunch after about the third witness today. Let's take you inside the courtroom now. Renisha's mother was sitting in a colorful blouse in the rows, and she has a bun and glasses. Her arms are folded. She was rocking back and forth as she listened to some of this testimony of the last hours of her daughter's life. And we heard from 3 different witnesses, including an audio recording off a police dash cam from the first officer on scene. On that audio, the officer asks Theodore Wafer what happened. Wafer tells him the shotgun discharged, and he didn't know it had a bullet in it. Then he kept asking the officer, why would somebody consistently bang on my door like that? Another witness who lives near where Renisha crashed her car, the one we first told you about, says she talked with a 19-year-old, said the teen was disoriented, and just told her she wanted to go home.
What was her response to you?
Only thing she would say out of the moment, that's all I want to do is go home.
Okay.
And that woman said that she tried to get Renisha to stay there with her until police arrived, but that Renisha was so disoriented that she just walked off. And of course, we know 3 hours after that is when she went to Wafer's home and banged on his door. Now, again, court just broke for lunch. They'll be continuing on this afternoon. We have a reporter inside the courtroom, and we'll bring you more on the latest on editions of 5 and 6 o'clock news on Channel 7. We're live from now, Detroit. Julie Bonovich, 7 Action News.
It's 4:35 in the city of Detroit. What does it all mean? Those opening arguments began yesterday. Joining me is attorney Gerald Thurswell of the Thurswell Law Firm in Southfield, who represents Renisha McBride's family in a civil lawsuit. At the Thurswell Law Firm, he leads a team of about 15 expert attorneys. His 46 years of legal experience represents thousands of hours of formal education, research knowledge, and repeated success in the courtroom. Good afternoon, counselor.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us. Yesterday, when around noontime, when the story first broke about what was happening in court, one of the first things a reporter observed and mentioned to the audience was the defendant was brought into court without handcuffs. Was that different than most criminal defendants brought into court?
Not really, because he's out on bond. It's not as if he was incarcerated waiting trial. There was a bond set, I think it was around $40,000, and I think his family raised the money, and that's why he's been out on bond ever since he was charged.
What was the defense trying to present in opening arguments?
Defense counsel got up there, and she kept saying he heard banging, banging on the front door, banging, banging on the side door. Apparently he had been sleeping in his recliner. He heard the banging, and he got up, and she said he was looking for his cell phone, and he couldn't find his cell phone that usually is in a desk or a table next to him. He went into the kitchen, and he heard the banging on the side door, then he heard it on the front door, and he was looking for his cell phone. This is what she said. And then when he couldn't find his cell phone, and that was the only phone in the house, apparently he went into his closet. He took his shotgun out of the bag. He took the safety off of the gun, and then he went to the front door. This is what he said. And he opened the front door, and all of a sudden he saw somebody there like in a flash, he said, and that he was so scared, he just shot. And they're going to claim that this was in self-defense, this was his home, and that he was so scared because of the banging, he just got his gun and shot the first thing that he saw. They also claimed that there was a screen on the front door that had been broken. He is claiming that she knocked the screen out and the screen was on the ground. The prosecution is claiming that there's a hole in the screen And that hole, and the reason the screen fell out of the door, was because of the shotgun blast. Very interesting. He ultimately called the police on his cell phone, and they were there in 3 minutes. Where was the cell phone all the time? After he blew her head off, he put his hand in his back pocket, and his cell phone was in his back pocket all the time. This is what he claims.
That's pretty interesting. So he initially claimed that he was asleep in a chair.
Yeah, that's what his lawyers said. That's what his lawyers said in her opening statement. Again today, and when we heard in the opening statement from the prosecutor played the 911 call. He said on the 911 call, somebody was banging on my door, and I shot and killed them. That's what he told the police on the 911 call. I think what you'll hear, and I'll let the evidence come out when it comes out, but you'll hear other statements that he made when he was at the police station. You'll hear other statements that he made when he was in the scout car. I think the reporter who we just heard said that when he got to the door, he didn't know that there was even a bullet in the gun. That's real interesting. Why did he take the safety off the gun, thinking that there wasn't a bullet in there? At the preliminary examination, this was interesting too. I think the prosecutor thought he was going to say that the gun accidentally discharged. And at the preliminary examination, they had a ballistic expert who said it took like 6 pounds of pressure to pull that trigger back. It wasn't just like a hair trigger that just went off by accident. It took pressure to pull that trigger back, 1. 2, there's no question that the safety was off. 3, we know that there were bullets in the gun. Another interesting thing, too, was when the prosecution presented their case in their opening statement, she showed a photograph where the gun had been hanging in the closet, and then she showed a photograph that the bullets were on a little shelf away from the gun, which then causes one to believe that the bullets weren't in the gun, that he had the mental ability to think, God, I better load my gun. He loaded it and went to the door. So
it's certainly an interesting sequence of events as you listen to the defense attorney. Now, what is it the prosecutor? What is it that the prosecution must prove in this trial in order to secure a conviction?
Okay, well, the main charges are second-degree murder, and I'll read to you what that requires. 1 is that the defendant caused the death of Renisha. 2, that he created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be likely to occur. And the situation that he created was he got his gun, he took the safety off, and he went to the front door and opened the door. He never had to open that door. He never had to open it. It was locked. The prosecution showed pictures of both the front door and the side door. There were no signs of anybody breaking in. It's very strange to think that somebody at 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the morning would be banging on a door if they wanted to break in. Why would you bang and make all that noise, wake up the neighbors? When people break into a house, they're not banging and banging. They're trying to be very quiet, not to be seen, and they're trying to open up the door silently. So it's, and I guess I'm prejudiced because I represent the family, and I'm presenting this to you and your listeners because I believe that he should be convicted. But there's a prejudice because I represent the family.
You know what? It is interesting to note, however, that there is this claim of breaking in. Common sense, what you've just laid out about people who are trying to break in houses don't want to make noise. They want to be quiet so that nobody can hear them. And I'll tell you something else I was thinking about. How likely is it that at that time of the morning that someone is going to move from the front of the house to the side of a house. You know, you kind of want to be on the front because it gives you some protection, or you think that it does, rather than going to the side of a house. I don't know, but that just doesn't, it seems problematic.
What she said was, what the defense attorney said in her opening statement, that he didn't know if it was one person or two people trying to break into his house. And that's why he heard the knock on the side and then he heard the knock on the front. Clearly, he did not hear the banging on the doors simultaneously. It could not have been all at the same time because we know that there was only one person and it was her. I think the evidence will show that, and your reporter made a statement earlier, that she wanted to go home. If you look at a photograph of Ted Wafer's house, the front of the house, and you look at a photograph of Renisha's home, the homes look almost exactly alike. Same kind of windows, same kind of roof, same color brick. They look almost exactly alike. So here she is, she's in an accident. No question she sustained a head injury. No question that she was drunk and that she was trying to go home. I don't know why when the door was closed, he didn't yell through the door, "Who's there? What do you want?" Or, "Get away from my house, I'm going to call the police." He had so many options. And I don't know if it's true that he couldn't find his cell phone.
Belinda and Attorney Thurswell, we've got Belinda on the line from Warren. Hi, Belinda. What's your question or comment, please?
Okay, hi. My comment is this. I saw on the news where officer said that when he interviewed him, that he said that he didn't know there was a bullet in that rifle. So if he thought it wasn't a bullet in the rifle, how could he say he was scared? Am I saying it right?
More importantly, if he didn't think there was a bullet in the gun,
right?
Why would he even pull the trigger? Why would you pull the trigger on a gun that didn't have a bullet in it?
Right. And if he was so afraid and he knew the gun didn't have a bullet in it, why would he open up the door? The gun couldn't have served the purpose because he thought it was empty.
You're 100% right.
Hey, Belinda, it's so good to hear from you.
Okay, I listen every day. I just like to give other callers a chance.
All right, sweetie, it's good to hear from you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 313-568-1200. What do you think? Attorney Gerald Thurswell joining us on the Mildred Gaddis Show. We'll be right back.
Compelling talk you can count on. This is the Mildred Gaddis Show on News Talk AM 1200 and 99.9 FM WCHB.
It's 4:47 in the Motor City. I'm Mildred Gaddis, 313-568-1200. Attorney Gerald Thurswell from the Thurswell Law Firm joining us on the show. We're talking about the Renisha McBride case that's in court. Now we're talking about the Dearborn man. In fact, it was just on Inside Edition of that's aired on NBC. I mean, it's a story nationally that people are watching. You all remember that Renisha McBride had a car accident at around somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning in Dearborn. Some time ago, she ended up on a gentleman's front porch, tried to get some help. He shot her with a shotgun. Elle in Detroit, you're on the air with Attorney Gerald Thurswell.
Hello, you guys.
Hi.
My comment is really simple today. So he claims that when he initially called 911, he told them that he killed her. That's peculiar to me because if you're just shooting, you don't know where the bullet lands. He claimed he shot her. I mean, he killed her as though he was aiming, for her head or something of that nature. It's just really interesting that his initial words would be, "I killed her," as opposed to, "I just, the gun just went off and, it shot through the door. I think it pierced her," or, something of that nature. So I just thought that those words were very interesting. That's all.
Well, there's no question that he knew he killed her. And it's going to be horrific when you see what she looked like. He shot her through the screen. The screen door was locked, by the way. So either the screen fell down, but the door itself was locked. If you see pictures of her, he shot her in the face. And if you saw you'll see the jury will see photographs of her head, and there's not a whole lot left. So he knew when after he pulled the trigger and he saw her fall, he shot her right in the face. It was about a foot away from the gun. That's how close the gun to her face, either a foot or 2 feet maximum. It was a sawed-off shotgun, and these guns are used for one purpose only, and that is to kill someone. There's no sight on the gun, so it's not used recreationally. It's not used for target practice. It's used to kill somebody. People have these for protection in their home, but not to be used in this circumstance, for sure.
It's currently 4:50 in the Motor City. How long do you expect the ballpark? Nobody knows definitively this case to last.
It's going to take approximately another week and a half, at least. Another week and a half. The defense has certain witnesses that they're going to call. They're going to have some witness say that they don't believe the bullet went through the screen, but the screen had been knocked out based on her knocking on the screen or the door. They're going to have Dr. Werner Spitz, a former medical examiner, testify the fright that somebody goes through when somebody is knocking on their door. I don't know how in the world. I mean, if somebody's scared, you don't open the door to a locked house. And as that caller so intelligently said, you don't open the door with a gun that doesn't have a bullet in it.
Belinda was on it on that one. Let's go to Harper Woods. Rhonda in Harper Woods, you're on the Mildred Gaddis Show.
Hi, Mildred. It's so nice to listen to your program today.
Thank you.
I just want to weigh in on some of the comments I heard. I really enjoy what you're saying. And I mean, it's almost like a no-brainer for me because we've had incidents with people banging on our doors. It has been at night. I've had incidents like that. But I'm like the other callers. Why would you even open the door? You would just, see what's going on. If you couldn't make sight of what's going on, you simply call the police. And if you don't have your phone, you just find your phone. Because what would be the sense of opening up a door if you don't know what's going on? That's just an intelligent way of looking at it to me.
All right.
Well, think about it. Apparently, he said that at night he would always put his phone down and charge it. But then what do you think? When I'm not charging my phone and it's not on the charger, where do I usually and customarily keep my phone? Oh, I keep it in my back pocket. So when you see it's not charging, then the next thing that goes to your mind is where do I usually and customarily keep it? And you put your hand and you take it out of your back pocket.
Exactly. And I mean, to me, that was just trigger happy. He just was, it was just something that he just wanted to do to me because I wouldn't go to a door with a gun in the first place, and especially with a gun and open the door. I'm going to keep the gun just in case if somebody tried to come in, then my gun would be there, to defend myself. But what would be the point if somebody's behind a door to put a gun and then open it? That just, I don't know, that just don't make sense to me.
Hey, Rhonda, thank you so much for weighing in.
Thank you, Mildred.
Hey,
okay, have a good day.
And thanks for listening. Louis in Detroit, what's on your mind?
Hello?
Yes, Louis, go ahead, please.
Yes, my point is this. The law states that, somebody's breaking through your house. You wait till they try to come in before you pull the trigger. He went to the door, and I figured that he had the gun ready to shoot because he knew or he wanted to shoot. Nobody wants to kill nobody unless they decide to pull the trigger. So if she was coming through the door, I could see it, and not on the porch. Thank you.
Thank you so much for checking in. We're going to go to Redford and check in with Judy. Hi, Judy.
Hello, Mildred. Love the discussion. Just a quick comment. Just the frustration of the news media who constantly leads their story with the fact that she was intoxicated and that marijuana was in her system. That was totally irrelevant and did not justify him killing her. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Well, look how many people would be dead if we shot everybody who was intoxicated.
Some high-profile people right here in Michigan would certainly be gone. We'll just tell the truth about it. You're absolutely right. Rodney.
Mildred, how are you?
Good.
Did this guy have a porch light on his front porch?
No, the porch light, no. There was no porch light there. The area was pretty well lit. There were some street lights. The other thing that came out that was very interesting, I didn't tell anybody yet, it came out in the opening statement. Apparently he had a peephole, and he could have looked through the peephole, but he said that the peephole was damaged, and he thought that Renisha had damaged the peephole, which is, it's just so, just think about this. If somebody's knocking on your door, before you open it up with your gun, don't you think you should say, who's there? What do you do when somebody knocks on your door? Who's there? And then you load your gun. Then you're ready if you don't give the right answer. But don't you talk and find out who's there, what's there?
Counselor, I must ask you this. What is the so-called stand your ground? What does Michigan have that's similar to what we're hearing out of Florida, stand your ground?
Well, we have something else. It's called the castle law. If this is your castle, this is your home. And if somebody's breaking into your house, you don't have to run away. You have a right to defend your house. But it's not applicable in this case. All she was doing was knocking on the door. So what if it was 3 o'clock in the morning? Somebody is knocking on your door. Remember, there's no signs of break-in, no visible signs of any break-in whatsoever. I mean, if somebody was breaking into your house, you have every right to shoot them. You don't have to run away, run out the back door. That's your castle. That's your home. That isn't the situation here. And again, I want your listeners to know that I'm very prejudiced when I talk because I do represent the family.
Okay. And I want my listeners to know that the number to, well, let's take Danny's call. I think we've got time to get one more call in. We'll take Danny's call before we let you go, Attorney Thurswell. Danny, talk to us.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Take my call. Yeah, I want to know why it took a week or two for them to even call him in or take him in. Then what was he on? Was he on drugs or what? Then I heard they worked at the Ford Motor Company together. You hear anything about that?
He worked at the airport, and the reason they didn't arrest him immediately, he wasn't running away anywhere. They knew where he was. That was his home. He had lived there a long time. He wasn't going. He worked at the airport. They just had to put their case together, then present it to the prosecutor. It wasn't as if he was a criminal break. He wasn't breaking into a building. He hadn't. He didn't have any kind of criminal record. They knew where he was, so they put their case together, presented it to Kim Worthy, and she had to make a decision as to how she was going to charge him. Charged him with first-degree murder. Charged him with manslaughter, charged him with second-degree murder, and the negligent discharge of a gun. So you've got second-degree murder, manslaughter, and the negligent discharge of a gun. And she thought about that and thought about it because you don't want to overcharge somebody and then let him get away. So in the event the jury doesn't find him guilty of second-degree murder, they still have the opportunity to find him guilty of manslaughter. And lastly, the negligent discharge of a firearm. Clearly, he'll be found guilty of the negligent discharge of a firearm. But the next question is, does it rise to second-degree murder or manslaughter? Manslaughter is the killing of the other person, and when you're all excited and in the heat of the moment, you pull the trigger. So that's manslaughter. And then the second-degree murder, he created a very dangerous situation. He knew it was dangerous, where someone would die or suffer serious bodily harm. That's what we believe occurred when he opened the door with his gun loaded, took the safety off, and then shot her.
Attorney Gerald Thurswell can be reached at the Thurswell Law Firm at 866-354-5554. That's 866-354-5544. Attorney Thurswell, thanks for talking with us today. This is certainly an exciting case to watch, legally speaking.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.